mystic aroma balsam from Checkers Iron Superior.
Oh, hello there, Mugs. It is that time of week again, and look, don't adjust your screens. There is no big schnoz in the way of your viewing pleasures. The man himself, Lloydie's out this week, mate. Birthday vibes are celebrating still or something like that. But Bean, you and me, here to find winners. How's your confidence coming into this week?
I do took a bit of a hit last week, and then Wednesday was an absolute disaster. I think I put a tip up for 5 out of the 7 on Wednesday. I don't think one of them won, so that's probably not the confidence I need. But perhaps it was the rain and the weather just put me off. So back to headquarters. It says soft 5, but it's got to be a good 4 surely. Like the place drains, and I don't think we've got any more rain coming. So yeah, no, I'm keen. It's a decent card too.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a card, and I guess we can look at it as the fortnightly cycle, mate, because a lot of these horses were absolute load-up jobs 2 weeks ago for us, which we all found, and probably just getting used to the fields last week. But that's what I'm going with at least anyway. Lloydie will he'll give you another excuse. But going back to last week, mate, there was a few, I guess horses that we probably don't want to admit too much, but the My Runners crew, they've got 2 good ones that could potentially go on to some bigger and better things. So Hellavadancer and Big Goodbye both ran around at odds on. I don't even think we backed them because we were just looking for that bit of value at Doomben. But, mates, Big Goodbye just keeps getting the job done, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's just bulletproof pretty much, isn't he? Like he just runs on pace, like he does everything right, and hell of a body. I think Lordy and I absolutely potted the crap out of her. And she came out and won like a champion. So yeah, I think the Big Goodbye is the better of the 2 potentially, but there's probably a little bit more upside with hell of a body. I think in terms of just where it's at the moment, what it could get to. But the Big Goodbye is just it's gonna be running in good races fairly often. So be handy to have a horse like that. And I like the way it maps. That's the key for that horse. Just the get back run on styles. Just nah, it's no good. No good in horse racing.
No, I think you're 100% right. Like the stats are backing that up now. Just tracks are always too firm. Tempos are always too slow. I mean, every jockey excuse that you'll ever get for a bad ride is all tempo related, but that's just the way 9 out of 10 races are run. And the other one we potted was Tillingham, which came out and never looked like getting beat as well. And Mugs, we're all for spruiking our own tyres and making these nice little remix TikToks, but the fact is, when we pot horses, we do that a lot more often than picking winners. So it's a bit harder for me to go through all the footage and find the 55 times we pot horses to make a bit of a tape. So, yeah, I think it was, in hindsight, a few of the obvious choices got up. But nonetheless, mate, leading up to a couple of big weekends in Queensland, we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should be good. Huge week ahead. And then and then we head down south for the big dogs are back.
Yeah, it's sprint season. We had, not so much controversy, but the ROI stats will reflect Bean as the correct tipper there for the Group 1 there on Saturday. Jack and O, mate, 3-year-old, still a stallion, obviously got a big little deal on the table, but he served it up to the big boys.
Yeah, he was good. It was I was pretty happy when the protest got upheld for the ROI stats. Then not so happy when I heard about the damage it did to Lloydie's and his mate's Bucks party, who I think had it their bet on it with the tab, and then another bloke had a ticket on with a on course bookies. So that was a bit upsetting. But yeah, he's just a real good horse. A real good horse. I'm still not sure how Tuvalu didn't win. It looked like it was bolting up the inside there. So hard to see how that's missed a place. But yeah, real good horse, Jack and O.
Real good horse, and other good horses, mate, this weekend, the Lightning Stakes. So, mate, let's start hot. And Lloyd, if you're listening, he might pipe in with his tip there as well. But if not, just makes us look stupid the whole way through. But the talking point's obviously Nature Strip, back down the Flemington Straight where he absolutely flies. Case in point. He's done 9 out of 10 at the track. You're getting $2 for the champ. I guess you've got the new kids on the block, though. Coolangatta, Marabi, Wish I Win. I believe all of them maybe Butt, Coolangatta are down the straight for the first time there. So that could be an element of dynamics, mate. Barrier 1, we know something about barriers at Mug HQ, mate. Is that where you want to be down the straight at Flemington?
It's probably not the worst place to be. I think he's sort of won from there before. I found this race. I mean, there's two obvious choices here, and that's obviously Nature Strip and then Rockin' Horse. Can't leave out Rockin' Horse. It's a bit of a superstar here. But I'm with the champ. I think perhaps just vulnerable a little bit last prep post the whole sort of like those last two runs post the Ascot ordeal. I'm just not sure if he was 100% right. Like $2.10 against, I mean, he's giving Coolangatta a bit of weight, but most of the others, he's, 2 kilos, a few of them, like, and then same weight as the others. Like, I just can't see. I mean, I can see Rockin' Horse knocking him off because he's done it before, but yeah, I don't know. Even still, I think yeah, it's hard pressed to go past Nature Strip here with that sort of spell and then a new prep under the belt. I just think if he's got any of that residual fitness and Waller's got him right on song here, then he should just be winning this, I think.
Yeah, I'm going to take the champ on. I don't know. I'm sort of getting the vibe now with Nature Strip that as he's getting a bit older, he's just going to be the grand final kind of horse and not just demolish all competition every single start. And for that reason, like, I think Coolangatta is the only horse in this field that you could, yes, say has a weight advantage, but also I don't think she'll go a yard over the 1,000 meters. So she's got to be absolutely.
Yeah, that's probably true.
He's got to be primed for this because won the the Moor, I think it was over the 1,000, and then backed up for the Coolmore down the straight, and just seemed to get lost at the 1,200. So she's probably the one that is peak and ready to pick off the champ. I guess at that little bit of vulnerability first up, and the rest of them are probably screaming for the 1,200 meter trip, which they'll get in a few weeks in the Newmarket. So. Yeah, bit of value for the Coolangatta. Great place of the world, mate. Not as good as Sunshine Coast. Hopefully this Friday night for the Mug fans out there. But anyway.
There's a fair bit of speed up in front too as well. They'll take each other on, like the Strip, Coolangatta, Marabi. Like they'll all go forward and probably even fire. So it wouldn't shock me if Baller just pops up and runs a bit of a bottle or two. So don't leave it out of your wider exotics for the TJ Gollan fans out there.
Yeah. 100%, absolutely flying. Trial was off the charts too. Yeah, you're probably right. Even Coolangatta's a speed machine from barrier 9. They might even split, and it might just be a matter of if you're on the right side of the straight, it does you wonders. So all questions,
not that again.
All questions to be answered Saturday. But speaking of barriers, mate, what is the news in Queensland racing? Is Mugs drawing poor barriers? So. I'm hoping that I know Racing Queensland listen in because they seem to copy most of our content when we have a great idea. What's the GO, mate? What have we done wrong here, Bean? Let's try and get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, I'm not sure. What do we draw? 22 of 22 on Friday night for Cercado. Yeah, it's pretty it's ordinary, isn't it? I just saw it and was like, oh God, I'm not even gonna look next time. I don't even need to look. You just see all the messages and the crying faces coming through, and I'm like, oh great. And it's not the crying laughing faces either, it's just the sheer disappointment. Yeah, we've stepped on a voodoo doll or something. I'm not sure who we bothered here, but it's no good.
Yeah, I was the same, mate. I think I picked up my phone to about 44 unread messages, and I think it was everyone patting themselves on the back for drawing a good barrier. So Mugs, Cercado Friday night, fingers crossed. We'll see how things sort of pan out. So if you're listening to this one on Friday, wish us luck for tonight. That works out well. We'll see in the future. But, mate, we're not about Friday. Well, we are about Friday because we need the fill-up Friday to take us into Saturday. As you said, mate, back to headquarters, the place where heaven was created. Eagle Farm Raceway. And speaking of the fill-up a few weeks ago, I'm talking trifling. We're talking race 2, Namazu, Lloydie's Mugbooker, which goes around. Race 3, you've got Rockamore, which has done nothing wrong this prep. And then, of course, the Master Lock champ himself, head of state in race 4. 4 favourites, mate, deserved so, but I know you're a bit of a value sniffer, as you like to self-proclaim. So is there anything in the first 4 that you can maybe steer the Mugs out there away from the obvious?
No, I'm pretty keen Namazu ahead of State. I think they'll just be winning. I'm probably against. I'm also probably not a fan. I mean, I think I've said before on the podcast. I'm not really a fan of Rockamora. I'll be sticking with Love Sensation in that race for Benny Thompson and TJ Goal. And I just think what's two on the trot, mare's in form. I just think you back the truck up again. $2.80 is a fair price about it, and you might get sort of threes or better. It seems to be on the drift there, and it's drawn slightly better than Rockamore. So yeah, I'll be siding there. But yeah, I think the favourites in the first four probably largely do the job. I mean, $2.80, $2.70. Love Sensation's basically a favourite anyway, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
not very brave.
Well, it's almost just the TJ Golan show there, pretty much, not only for the card, but for the Quinella. Yeah, I was going to make a case for it as well. Just the 6 kilos. And I think, what did it beat? Atlantic Eagle. I think it goes all right too. So I know you're looking at.
It won a couple, hadn't it, before that as well? It had won a couple on the trot, I think, leading in. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's always had that boom about it. But, you say, oh, yeah, but Moz, Rockamore beat Tillingham, last start and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but I don't know if Tillingham really beat much their last Saturday. So that form might have a few little holes that we can poke, mate, because we just love poking holes. Hence why we draw barriers 22 of 22 most weeks.
Yep.
And mate, look, any before we get really stuck in, any other big news that you need to bring to the table, racing wise, life wise, some life advice out there for mainly Lloydie?
No, best of luck with the move though for the fans out there that are supporting Lloydie. Yeah, I think moving house, so that'll be fun. But no real crazy news. There was obviously a few changes at racing.com during the week, which bit topical. What else has happened? I saw Tony Brassel put an article out with his tips on how to his factors and what he considers. I thought that was a bit of a it was all the sort of stuff we talk about all the time, like jockey. I think the first one was horse. How does he find a winner? Horse. That's the key. The key's the horse. I had a bit of a laugh at that, but no, nothing too crazy there.
So what you're telling me is Big Brass Man's just ripping off our ideas as well now. So we can't.
Yeah, it did sort of look that way a little bit.
We can't bloody do anything right, can we, mate? But anyway, we'll find some winners. That's something we can do right. Mate, race 5, 1,800 metres, Eagle Farm. Now, look, you touched on it before. We had a bit of a downfall. What was it? Maybe Tuesday. There was a bit of rain around, but it's mid-30s every day up here in Paradise Mug. So it's absolutely going to be dry as an absolute bone. We got the rail, which is going out in the 2-metre position. So I don't think it's really going to change, I guess, too much from 2 weeks ago. The thing that you've got to do, though, mate, is chuck your faith there in a Chris Waller runner, which goes around as your favourite as $3.70, or do you stick with the bean method and back up Warp Speed again? You're not getting the 30s this week, brother, but you get Jimmy Orman on board again.
Yeah, it's a bit of a you can't. I don't think you can back. I don't think you can be with Kapangi, to be honest. I'm just kind of like, it's just that thing just doesn't like winning. It's pretty simple. Yeah, look, I sort of half considered Warp Speed. I think it just kind of peaked on the run a little bit though late. It just looked like that was about. I mean, I know it's running 30 meters shorter, but it's had a pretty big prep. So I am. I'm hoping I'm not doing this wrong. I'm jumping off. I'm with Red Light Roxanne here. I've always been a bit of a fan of this horse. Third behind Vaccine and Hellavadancer. I think it's pretty good form for this. It's had, what is it, 3 runs leading in at the 16 at the mile, so it won one of them, and then it's run 4th and 3rd. That last third, Hellavadancer, I think, comes up favourite in the last. I'm pretty keen on it. And Vaccine, I think that was the one where Lloydie quoted that the stats in terms of the speed for that race were well above standard. So if we like Hellavadancer and it's in the black book, then Red Light Roxanne has to be as well. We get Benny Thompson on barrier 11. I just think it never runs a bad race, and $11 in what's a pretty open field. I'm sort of happy to be with it. I think it's a bet at the price.
Okay, mate. Well, I'm glad you're looking that way because I'm looking through the same race, but I'm going one up in market order for you. Coupe de Tonnerre, Tonner winners. That's how I'm going to pronounce it. TJ Golan, mate, I reckon he's in for an absolute field day. Residual fitness there. Had a trial, first up last start, gets up obviously in the trip now. There's one that I'll bring up later in Moz's world famous trial hards segment, but the form as he's getting up in a prep looks pretty damn good on paper. And I'm just sort of banking the stable in that they're going to have this one sort of rock hard fit because TJ doesn't have another one in the race. So I think we were on the same wavelength there that Campangi is an absolute cat pangy, and one win, 15 starts sort of backs that up, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's too much of a risk at that price. Like, I mean, it might come out in pantsus, but then that's fine. But I can't take $3.40 about it. There's no way.
Good.
Maybe if Jimmy Orman was on, but he's not. So,
well, I mean, 54 and a half. Maybe he can't ride that light. I'll have to look back into it, but it's a pretty good push, isn't it? I mean, he could have an easy paycheck if he had to sweat out another kilo to ride that thing, and he's chosen not to. So. Just loves Beans Bazingas, mate. That's all he does.
Yeah, that's right. Loves the Bazingas.
Mate, well, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we've got I think you were gonna riff in and introduce the Beans Master Lock. We the punters out there, we came up a little bit short last weekend. Savannah Clouds, similar run to Tuvalu up the inside. I think the rail might have been out at Sandown. So that was our jockey horse combo there, which was a slight letdown, but that's all right. It was 9s and 3s, so there was a bit of value there for the each way players. But this week we've shifted off from jockey horse combos to jockey trainer combinations. So that's another sort of little thing we can look at in terms of how we analyze the form. We've obviously got a few up here. We've got the Orman Waller combo is pretty popular. We've also got at the moment the last fortnight it's been the Maloney Golan show. I think they're striking at 40%. This is on stats of 10 or more runners in the last fortnight. So that's 4 wins from 10 starts. That's a pretty fair effort, but there is a stable over in the west in Perth, which is absolutely airborne, and that's the combo of Sean McGruddy and Steve Wolf, mate. They're 50% from 14 runners in the last fortnight. They are absolutely airborne. So we don't have it yet because there's no prices out yet, but I think he's got the first 3 rides for Steve Wolf, Sean McGruddy on Saturday, and I think he's got the last 2. So I'm going to do a bit of form, and we'll post something up on the socials with a couple of tips there. But yeah, check your form guides there because the way that combo is running, we might be able to extract a bit of value over in the West late on a Saturday night to help us get out of trouble.
100% value, mate. And I think as you're explaining your majestic words of wisdom there, our good friends at the Yellow and Blue have just sort of put up a fixed price market at Pinjarra there. So
beautiful.
If you're listening, have a bit of an early look because the Zinga man, he'll take all the price. Don't worry about that.
So that's the plan Saturday. So are we over in the West hunting those prices, mate?
All right. Well, back to headquarters, mate, and this might be pretty short and sharp here in race number 6.
I think so.
Camarade Rosa. Look, TJ Golan is the resurgent career master. So if anyone is listening out there and they're doing it tough in your work environment, you might have just had enough of it. And you go, you know what? What the hell can I do from now? I can't just quit my job and run away and hope for the best. Well, good news is you can. You head down to the Tony Golan stable and you say, Tony, turn me into a winner, because that's what he just seems to do with a lot of these horses that come up from the south. So $1.65, not much changes. This probably looks like an easier task, to be honest, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it has to just win Comrade Rosa. Like if it was half a risk last start, but there's no way you could be against it here. I don't think this is a dead set cat fest apart from it. And we sort of half potted it pre last start. So yeah, it'll be winning again.
Excellent. That was quick. That was easy. That was painless. That's what we want. Might be the same story in race 7, Bean. Enterprise Pom, one of Bean's Bazinga favourites. Deleith, mate, we were all over it last start. I don't know. I just don't know if it's returned as well as it probably has in the past. But you're getting $364 a pair for the 2 there. Again, that man, we keep talking about him. Wish we got paid every time we mention his name, but Zababoom doesn't like to win, but the stable does.
Yeah, it's it's another one of those, like, I mean, it's a heck of a lot better than Kapangi, but what's it got? 13 starts, 6 seconds. I think all of them were lost rep in a row where we sort of jumped around and tipped it. I'm jumping off Enterprise Pom here. I've actually sided with the Nisham Yard and Brody Loy Guan. So one of the ones I sort of half keen on last prep. I think I caught it once perhaps at Ipswich, but it was a few pretty good runs that prep. I mean, it had form in around behind deficit. It beat home Ghost Rider by a few lengths. That form looks pretty strong the way it's come out, sort of, in this sort of the last few months, the way it's been going. So it's got a decent first up record. It's had one go at Eagle Farm for a second, which is sort of gives it the track tick. So I'm happy to be with Guan So at about 11 and $3.10. I think you can run a bit of a bold race here against, perhaps horses that haven't, while they're Mugs favourites, they probably haven't come back as well as we'd hoped, particularly the top two in the market.
Yeah, 100% agree with you, mate. I thought you were almost going to tip the trifecta there with He Knows and Kaz's Jet, which are other Bazinga tragics, and you're getting cricket score odds for them. That's it's kind of the depth of this field, isn't it?
Yeah, it sort of tails off. Like, I mean, they've all won and gone all right, but they're just up and down and all over the shop. Like, what did Kaz's Jet win? It won at like 22s, I think, that day I tipped it, or into 13s, and then it's just run like a busted uncle after that. And then now it's 81s in this field. So yeah, it's just the whole thing's ludicrous.
Yep, mate. I'm looking away from the top two in the field there as well. I think. Oh no, jockey's been named. Our good friend Ilion Chauvet, good young lad, not lass. Anyway, Adam Campton Yard. He had a good one last week, which won Depor, I believe, from the same.
And that was real impressive.
Real impressive. Definitely one to follow there, Mugs. But I'm looking to charge on here. Last start ran probably out of its skin, 2.5 lengths behind Comrada Rosa, which, to be honest, put him away pretty easy. But the form around that sort of field, we're talking, Pentito, Whitewater, even, a horse like Flybridge, although not at its best, but that's sort of Saturday form week in, week out, where a lot of these sort of horses are sort of coming from the provisionals into the town for the first time. So I'm thinking at the 12s now. There's been a bit of money for it, but Adam Campton, small stable, rely on winners. I think he needs to have these horses pretty much ready to go and win, and can look at doing that here on Saturday.
Yep, okay. I reckon it's a genuine chance. Particularly if Comrade Rosa comes out and belts him in the race before.
Yeah, well, that's exactly my thinking. And if the form looks good, guess what? It probably is. So, Bang. Been just going to halt the ship here for a minute. We're getting through everything, which is fantastic. Thank goodness we have no Lloydie here just declaring Rocky winners left, right, and centre. But we've asked him to film a few segments here, Mug. So, again, it's just talking to myself if he doesn't do it, and we have to put this to air. But we're going to the trials now. I'm going to sound pretty boring here, Mugs, but we were at Doomben on Tuesday. We had 20 trials. I made my case the last few weeks that I'd been at the Gold Coast Poly. We'd been at Sunny Coast. Finally, we're in the Big Smoke, and I've picked one out of the Absolute Superstars trial, which was trial number 1. So all you mugs out there are going to think I didn't even watch the whole 20. Well, trust me, I did, and I'll never get that 3 hours of my life back. But it's probably not a bad trial to watch anyway. So we might, I'll chuck the replay up as I'm talking if I make this into something. But you had Baller win the trial, didn't look touched. So if you like Baller in Melbourne on Saturday, can't fault you there. Halal crossed the line pretty much with Baller there. Now with the Tony Golan yard, Bean, I know you'll hate me saying this, but looks to be in for a ripper prep. Isotope went through there as well, looking really, really good. But going to draw your attention down to the horse that crossed the line in 6th from the Sears yard, which I don't like spruiking too much, but Red Wave looked to be back in a big way. Trial was over 1,000 meters, not really well. Fastest of the day, come home fast of the day. Not really looking at times because this thing out and out won't switch on till beyond a mile. But as they cross the line, Red Wave just absolutely extends out that little bit more and is pretty much, on lengths with Baller and Hello after sort of 200 meters. So this is a horse that's a 4-year-old. Definitely not at the level of obviously a Baller and a Halal. So just to sort of go around in the same sort of trial field and almost, outperform them to a degree, looks to be in for a pretty big prep. So I'm pretty sure last prep they ended up in the Derby. So you'd be looking at this fella coming back up to sort of that 2,000 meters to really, I don't know, maybe be a young lightweight chance in, something over the Winter Carnival.
Beauty. Yeah, that sounds good. Red Wave. Yeah, that's one I think we used to sort of half tip that. I think I've tipped it a couple of times back in the day. But yeah, got to get out over the trip. I get confused. Red Wave, Red Top. I think Red Top's in this weekend. There's too many reds. I backed the wrong one over the wrong distance, and then I get myself into trouble there.
Yeah, well, and funnily enough, that's what Lordy calls the old pecker when he gets excited too, the old Red Top. Yeah, no, Red Wave, well, 4 wins from 21 starts. So I guess, yeah, you're looking at the classic Chris Waller 2,200 meter handicaps, mate, if it doesn't measure up to then, which we all absolutely know and love. So,
yeah.
Speaking of, mate, I don't think we've really had to go through too much torment of the middle distance this week. But what we do have is an absolute cracker of a race. So we've sort of not potted. We're just critical, mate, because we're so passionate about our Brisbane racing. But they've come to the party this week. We've got a ripper Ladbrokes punter assist BM90 over the 1,000. The Bopper finally returns. Boom Nova is in that. Robiquitous. We haven't got the pronunciation right yet, but we may not need to. But Asamu goes around, Eagle Farm Specialist, even a horse like Gogol has been mentioned once or twice over the years of this show. So bit of a cracker field. The Bopper, mate, just before you plunge into it with all your knowledge, had a bit of a, what do they call it, atrial bleed or something like that. That's why it was scratched last start. Chris Lees has come out and said, not a concern, hasn't missed a minute of track work, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Are you with the $2.70 for the Bopper?
No, I'm with Boom Nova, mate. I think it's like you said, it's a super field for a race, benchmark 90 on a sad day. It's just 3 for 3 track and distance. It's just a dead set track and distance specialist. Trialed up nicely behind Laprise, although we've tipped Laprise twice now, and I think it ran pretty poorly the first time and then second on Wednesday. So, without winning, it's not doing a heck of a lot wrong. I think this horse is just a genuine star. It's probably the pin-up girl for the Muntz team, and yeah, no reason why it can't jump out of the ground first up and win this. It'll be leading. Yeah, there'll be horses that'll take it on, but apart from sort of the Bopper, I think it's the only other real chance to knock it off. I just think Boom Nova's pretty special.
Yeah, tend to agree with you there, mate. And even if you go back through the form on the girl, Zip from 3 first up, but 1 from 5 first up. But if you look at some of those other performances, she's getting beat by half a length, if that, against some good horses at the time too. So just Furnished now, had a bit of a trip away campaign. Was not sort of out of her depth, I don't think. I think the run in the Mona Lisa was a little bit of a sit and panic station watch, but comes back now, probably won't find a race, where she's going to get this well in up here until sort of the listed features come back. So, yeah, the $4, I'm happy to play with you.
Yeah, well, it's 3 lengths off horses like Zapateo and then 3 lengths off Megan Catlin down in, Wyong and Randwick. That's super form for this race. Super form.
Yeah, and the question, although the stables will always come out and say that the horse is going as good as ever, the Bopper has a bleed and a scratch behind the gates. Well, you're punting on that didn't affect it, and you're punting on it to bloody win the thing too. So $2.50. Yeah, brave if you're backing.
Yep, agreed.
Okay, insert Nick Lloyd segment here.
Mugs, couldn't be there today with the boys, but we're here in spirit. A little bit warm outside, so of course back to Eagle Farm this weekend. Happy days. But the Queensland him, we got the first one home last week, not so good with Hey Big Splendor there at the Sunshine Coast, but Rocky King, that's what they call me. We're back there at Rockhampton this Saturday. Race 2, number 2, still feeling it. Barrier 2, the last 3 starts it's come second. Like, I don't know what Bean's master lock was, but I reckon there's plenty of like omen bets, like numbers, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. So still feeling it. This horse last start was pretty good at Emerald, got beat. Of course, ran second, but Justin Stanley goes on, looks to get all the favours out in front. Still feeling it. Yeah, we are.
And we're back.
Oh, did you hear that?
It was a ripper. How good? How good's the magic of TV? Yeah, monks.
Yep.
Good luck if you're still hanging with us and watching. Race number 9, mate. The Get Out Stakes. B, we need an absolute send off here. And Hellavadancer rocks up. Nick Lloyd was pretty adamant that this horse was one to follow. Gets in here at the $4, 54.5 on the back. Andrew Mellion, I know he's one of your favourites, but he goes around your favourite in the last. Are we backing the big dog in?
Yeah, I reckon back the namesake in. We black booked after that race behind Vaccine. I've come out and what did I tip earlier in race? What was it? Race 5, Red Light Roxanne. From a nice gate off the back of that really good run. It's won at Eagle Farm before. That's sort of a big push. So it's sort of ticked that box, which I think is pretty important. You know, I know people carry on about it, but you know, Eagle Farm is just a different surface. And it gets in fairly well with the 54.5, like you mentioned. So yeah, $4, it's a bet for sure against a field where there's probably, there's definitely a bit of class about a couple of these. You know, they've sort of not run poorly. Executive Stress was good last start. Better Rain for Tommy Smith. I made up north is down, but I'm happy to be with Hellavadancer. I think it gets the job done here on Saturday to send the punters out on a high.
Yeah, mate, tend to agree with what you're putting down there. I think it's the bet in the race. The other one, and I don't really want him to listen to this and pat me on the back, but Better Rain looks to be pretty well in here as well. It's met Hellavadancer once before and beat it home and had to give it 5 kilos that day. So still got the 3 kilo swing. I know Better Rain, put him away last start at Rocky, but whether he's going as good as maybe last prep is yet to be determined. But that Vaccine form, mate, we've just pretty much picked it apart this whole card. So we want it to stack up, that's for sure.
Hopefully it's good form, otherwise we're in trouble.
Well, with that being said, mate, we need to finish with an absolute bazinga, a must win, and we'll put a living breathing in there. I'm sure if it's not this one, it's something else from Rocky that we've missed that we don't really care about. But mate, not a bad card. Have you got a best for us?
Yeah, mate, Bazinga for the week. We're going back to the well, mate. Head of state. You don't jump off winners, so I'm going back there. $2.45, I think. Race number 4 over the 2200, the annual Chris Waller middle distance handicap, and I think CJ can get it done here with head of state. What about you, mate? Where's the action? Where's the no King Kappa?
Yeah, well, that's it. I don't really know what to do with myself, to be honest. King Kappa just made this part just bloody easy, didn't it? So, no, well, look, I'm pretty keen on Conrado Rosa this week, but also Namazu there in race 2. So I think it's one of those days where you're right. Namazu, head of state, Conrado Rosa, the shorts, the obvious. I think they just get the job done. So I might play a little exotic multis around the 2, but the $1.80, I mean, can't really be a hero, can I? But I've got to take winners when I can get them, mate.
Mate, it's all percentage, mate. Got to build that ROI up.
Best of the day at Eagle Farm on Saturday. We're going to go to race number 2, Namazu. It rhymes. That's as good as anything. Now with Steve O'Day and Matty Hoystad, last start second there at the Sunshine Coast in the Sunshine Coast Cup behind the unofficial Empire Rose Stakes winner, Shaylo. That form's as good as any. This horse, I think he won a Townsville Cup. He might have won a Cairns Cup as well. Who's really counting? He's got Rocky form. That's as good as anything. Let's get it on.
Yeah, well, at the moment we're well, I think you're in the credits still. You got the head of state of the goods, but Lloydie and I were searching for shorties and didn't really end up well to us. But anyway, that's racing, as they say.
Yep, it is.
Well, Muggs, thanks for tuning in. We'll get, obviously, the team back together next week. Birthdays are just a bit of a shambles for some teenagers apparently, mate. They just can't back up the next day, can they, Bank?
Yeah, no, that's right. When it's your 15th birthday, it is a big birthday. So we'll get the youngster back in here next week, see where we go, and see what happens on the socials with Sir Carter on Friday, I guess. I think there's 4 out already I've seen. So what's that barrier? 18 of 18. So we'll fingers crossed for another sort of 10 come out in the next sort of day or so.
Ideally, that would be the dream, that we're in a field of 4 and if we're going to finish 4th, we'll take that, put it that way. But thanks, Mugs. Good luck on the winners. Group 1 racing back in flavour, so get amongst it.
Cheers, Mugs.